Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the first episode of Coloring the Coloring Book of Kashmir. This book is designed by Baruja, that's me, and here we begin to paint its first page. We will need some materials. The first thing is watercolor paints. I'm using tubes, a palette. To mix the colors, I'm using a pre-made palette. I've already put some paints on it. These are dry, but I'll spray the paints blobs with water before using them. Then we'll need 2 jars of water, one for washing the brushes and one for using the water with the colors, and some brushes and tissue papers. I'm using round brushes of sizes 3 and 6 and a cat's tongue brush by Camlin. The tissue papers are for cleaning the brushes and lifting extra paints from the painting. Something about this painting, Yachivana Pamba Shishasa ovary of lotus. This is the leaves are called the khilwatar and the flowers are called bhamposh. We'll begin by coloring the sky and then we'll go with the leaves and flowers and last with the water. Watercolor, as the name suggests, में क्या होता है, पानी का बहुत यूज़ होता है. It's used in making the colors dark and light. अब कभी अगर ज़्यादा पेंट या पिगमेंट हमारे पेपर पे आ जाता है, sometimes it happens, तो we need to lift that up back. तो वो हम कैसे लिफ्ट करेंगे? I'll show you the technique of lifting a paint from the paper in this video. I'm using a damp brush to lift extra water and color. जब हम डैम्प ब्रश यूज़ करते हैं वो एक्स्ट्रा कलर को, एक्स्ट्रा पानी को सोक कर लेता है. Later on we'll wash this damp brush again and clean it on tissue paper, making it again the damp brush. और हम वाटर कलर्स के साथ बहुत फास्ट काम करते हैं. We work faster with the watercolors before the color is absorbed by the paper, before the pigment is absorbed by the paper, because once the pigment is absorbed by the paper we cannot lift it, we cannot work with it. And watercolor का क्या होता है, it should be smooth. ये lift हम कर पानी चाहिए पेपर से. The center of this illustration, I have drawn a shikara. Shikara, we can say it's a cultural symbol of Kashmir. ये देवदार की लकड़ी से बनती है क्योंकि इस लकड़ी जो ये होती है ये पानी में सड़ती नहीं है. नेक्स्ट इस illustration में जो है lotuses है. I personally love lotus flowers. I'm more a fan of lilies than roses, and also lotuses are part of Dallake and part of this scene. That is why I have taken lotuses in this illustration instead of any other flower. जो पम्बश होता है, सिंस एक ओवरी है, इसके अंदर जो सीड्स होते हैं वो बहुत टेस्टी होते हैं एंड इसको इंग्लिश में फॉक्सनट कहते हैं. और अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस पम्बश एंड फॉक्सनट्स एंड एवरीथिंग एंड फ्लावर्स, इसके जो स्टेम्स होती हैं लोटस की, we have them. It's a delicacy and we call them nadur, or in English we know lotus stems. Just let me know in the comments, how do you like lotus stems? Meanwhile, I have finished painting the sky. After this, we'll paint the leaves. We'll need light green and dark green to paint the leaves and pambash, and then we'll paint the flowers and lastly shikara. In pure watercolor paintings, we try to avoid using white paint or white color. White color is opaque and it's not technically used in watercolor painting. Watercolor is a transparent color. ये transparent होता है and white from the paper is used in painting watercolor paintings. हम पेपर का ही वाइट कलर यूज़ करने की कोशिश करते हैं. If possible, अगर हमें possible नहीं हुआ, if there are tiny spaces, at that point we can highlight with white color, but we try to keep watercolors as transparent as possible. लोटस लीव्स अंदर से डार्क होते हैं और नीचे से लाइट होता है, सो हम इसको अकॉर्डिंगली पेंट करेंगे. आई एम यूजिंग 2 डिफरेंट शेड्स ऑफ ग्रीन टू पेंट द इनसाइड एंड द आउटसाइड ऑफ द लोटस लीव. मैं पहली लेयर इसमें पेंट करूँगी एंड आफ्टर दैट आई विल ऐड मोर डिटेलिंग व्हेन दिस लेयर ड्राइज. एंड ऑल्सो इन वाटर कलर रिमेंबर टू गो फ्रॉम लाइट कलर टू डार्क कलर. हम लाइट कलर को धीरे धीरे लेयर अपॉन लेयर करके उसको डार्क कर सकते हैं. ट्राइंग टू लाइटन अ डार्क कलर विल मेक इट लुक मडी. Now I'm adding another layer of watercolor, the green color on this leaf. I'm trying to keep the veins of the leaf lighter, जो हमने पहली layer की थी, and जो इनके बाहर है, veins के बाहर leaf का area है, we try to cover it with a darker color, thus giving it that shading or that 3D effect that this leaf must have. I'll do the same from the inside, and I'll also color in the same manner the pambash and the stems of this leaf and the lotus flowers as well. Next we'll move to paint the flower. Art requires time and patience. We need to do it carefully without any hurry, and then we can expect some really nice results from our artwork. If you just rush, then naturally the result won't be as good as we would like it to be. Let's paint the flowers now. Tips are darker, so I will put pigment at the tip and pull it downwards with a clean damp brush. This brush that I'm using now is damp. I'm slowly pulling it downwards, and why am I doing it? Because this will make a beautiful gradient that the lotus flowers have and that we would want in our painting. Lotus are either pink or yellow. You can choose either of the two colors, the color of your choice in painting the flowers. I'm not using yellow as I want to paint my shikara in it, as we know shikaras are mostly bright and yellows. There are lots of yellows in shikaras, so I would like to paint my shikara in that way and flower in pink. It will keep my painting very colorful. However, you can choose the colors of your choice, and the technique of coloring it will remain the same. There's another way of painting the leaves, painting such gradients. You normally see that mostly on the internet. It's wet upon wet technique. I'll be wetting my petal, the lotus petal, with water. हम इसको पूरा वाटर से फिल कर देंगे, and then I'll put a drop of pigment at the tip of this leaf, and then I'll wait for it to disperse throughout. I can guide it with a clean damp brush to create a gradient, just like I'm doing it. The flower and the bud is complete. I'm now adding tints of green and yellows to some of the leaves, sorry, some of the petals of the bud and the flower. Now on to the shikara. Like I said, I want to paint it in yellow, and so I painted it in bright yellow and added shading using scarlet and brown colors. I want to make, and we should try to make it as bright and vibrant as possible. I'll add bright colors for the seating and the curtains as well. This time I'm using scarlet for shading, just to give it a little depth. And I also added some burnt umber shading to the shikara. I'm not using black, it's burnt umber, it's a shade of brown color. And then I'll also paint the boatman, the shikara wala, in a beige color and seating in purple. I try to keep everything simple and understandable in this video so that anyone can follow it. I hope it's not too much, and you enjoyed watching this video as much I enjoyed creating it. It would mean a lot if you could subscribe and like this video. Yes, I would really appreciate that. We know shikaras have unusual names and very interesting names. So if this was your shikara, what would you name it? Do tell me in the comments. Lastly, let's paint the water now. Again, start with the lighter shade and gradually make the ripples darker. I have mentioned the names of the colors that I used in painting the water. I started with Prussian blue, kept it lighter, adding more water to it, and then I gradually darkened it near the shikara, the area under the shikara जहाँ पर इसकी ज़्यादा रिफ्लेक्शन होगी. एंड रिपल्स जो बने हुए हैं, जो मार्किंग की हुई है, वहाँ पर मैंने अल्ट्रामरीन ब्लू ऐड किया सो दैट इट विल बिकम डार्कर. I have added another layer. I wanted to make ripples and I added it this layer on wet paint. मेरा अभी नीचे का layer पूरा dry नहीं हुआ था and added it. If it's overwhelming for you, if it's difficult for you, you can wait. आप वेट कर सकते हो नीचे वाली लेयर को पूरा ड्राई होने के बाद आप इस पे रिपल्स बना सकते हो। इसी के साथ ये इलस्ट्रेशन भी कंप्लीट होती है। लेट मी नो हाउ डू यू लाइक इट एंड शेयर योर इलस्ट्रेशंस विद मी। This is the final illustration, all done. Bye, take care.